Hello, 10th Standard. Welcome to this comprehensive explainer. Today, we're going to completely master Chapter 2 of your contemporary India geography syllabus. Now, I know these chapters can sometimes feel like just this massive, endless list of facts to memorize, but today, we are going to completely change that. We're going to look at this whole topic through the lens of an epic story, and the absolute hero of our story today is India's incredible biodiversity. I guarantee you, by the time we finish up here, you won't just be memorizing these concepts, you're going to truly understand them. So let's get started. All right, here's our roadmap for today's masterclass. We'll start off with India's rich biodiversity, then move right into the need for conservation. After that, we'll put a spotlight on Project Tiger, map out the types of forest resources, and explore community-led conservation. And finally, we'll wrap things up by checking your understanding to make absolutely sure you're exam ready. Okay, Section 1, India's rich biodiversity. Let's dive right into this by taking a really macro view of our whole ecosystem. Your textbook makes a pretty massive statement right off the bat. It says India is one of the world's richest countries in biological diversity. But what does that actually mean for us on a daily basis? Well, think of our natural environment like a giant, super intricate game of Jenga. Flora and fauna, the plants and animals, are the wooden blocks. They're so seamlessly integrated into our daily lives that, honestly, we kind of take them for granted. But they form this incredibly complex web. If you pull out just one piece, just one single species, you put immense stress on the entire tower. Every other living being depends on this system to survive. Section 2, the need for conservation. Because sadly, our Jenga tower, it's shaking. Conserving our life support, our water, our air, our soil, is an absolute urgency right now. Our biodiversity is under massive stress, largely due to our own insensitivity to the environment. Conservation doesn't just mean saving cute animals, right? It means preserving our fundamental life support systems. So how exactly did India respond to this ecological crisis? Let's trace the timeline. Back in the 1960s and 70s, conservationists were really ringing the alarm bells, demanding a national wildlife protection program. And this pressure led to a massive landmark moment in 1972. But what's truly fascinating here is how our understanding evolved over time. We didn't just stop at protecting the big, famous animals. By the 1980s, insects like butterflies and beetles were added to the protected list. And in 1991, for the very first time, plants were added too. We finally woke up and realized that every single block in that Jenga tower actually matters. Let's zoom in on that 1972 Indian Wildlife Protection Act for a second. This was the moment the government really stepped up as a major ally for nature. The thrust of the program was intense. They banned hunting, they gave strong legal protection to animal habitats, restricted the wildlife trade, and published an all-India list of protected species. This act became the ultimate shield for gravely threatened animals. We're talking about creatures like the Kashmir stag, also known as the Hangal, and the majestic Asiatic lion. Take the gharial, for example. It's one of the 3 types of crocodiles in India that were suddenly given vital legal protection. Realizing that a creature like this was on the absolute brink of extinction is just a stark reminder of why these habitat protections were literally a matter of life and death. The government had to step in immediately before these magnificent creatures disappeared from our rivers forever. Section 3, Spotlight on Project Tiger. Let's transition down to the micro level now, zooming in on saving the big cat, which is one of the most vital keystone species in our entire faunal web. 1,827. I really want you to let that number sink in for a second. 1,827. At the turn of the 20th century, India had an estimated tiger population of 55,000. But by 1973, authorities realized with absolute shock that the population had dwindled down to just 1,827. The king of the jungle was on the absolute verge of being wiped out entirely. So what went wrong? Unpacking the threats logically, it was a devastating combination of factors. Shrinking habitats and a growing human population essentially squeezed the tigers out of their homes. The depletion of their prey base meant they quite literally had no food. But the absolute biggest threat? Poaching for trade. Tiger skins and bones were highly sought after for traditional medicines, particularly in Asian countries. And because India and Nepal provide habitat to about 2/3 of the world's surviving tiger population, well, our nations became the prime targets for illegal trading. Project Tiger was launched in 1973 to fight exactly this. As a direct result, India established a network of massive tiger reserves. I want you to actively visualize the map of India in your mind right now as I list these off, okay? Up north, we have Corbett in Uttarakhand. Head east over to the Sundarbans in West Bengal and Manas in Assam. Right in the center, we've got Bandhavgarh in Madhya Pradesh. Over to the west, Sariska in Rajasthan, and all the way down south, Periyar in Kerala. Pinning these locations to your mental map is a brilliant way to lock them in for your board exams. Section 4. Types of forest resources. All right, it's time for our whiteboard phase, as we structurally categorize our forests and see how they build into the actual physical geography of India. So, the crucial takeaway here is that not all forests are classified the same way by the government. Let's map this out clearly. First up, we have reserved forests. These are considered the absolute most valuable for conservation, covering more than half of India's total forest area. Next, we have protected forests, making up about 1/3 of the total area. These are exactly what they sound like. They are protected from any further depletion. Now, together, reserved and protected forests are known as permanent forest estates. And by the way, fun fact, Madhya Pradesh holds the record for the largest area under permanent forests. Finally, we have unclassed forests. Just think of these as the other category, forests and wastelands belonging to the government, private individuals, and local communities. Section 5. Community-led conservation. Which brings us perfectly to the climax of our narrative today, the local heroes. We've talked a lot about top-down government acts, but the true saviors are very often the people living closest to nature. The reality on the ground is just so incredibly dynamic. Forests aren't just empty green zones on a map. They're traditional homes to diverse communities. In many areas, local villagers are out there actively struggling to conserve these habitats. Why? Because they recognize, better than anyone, that protecting the forest is the only way to secure their own long-term livelihood and survival. The government actually realized they desperately needed the locals. Enter the Joint Forest Management, or JFM program, which formally kicked off in Odisha back in 1988. This is just a perfect win-win symbiotic relationship. Local village institutions are formed to protect degraded forest land that's managed by the Forest Department. In return for their hard work and successful protection, the local communities are entitled to intermediary benefits, things like non-timber forest produces, and even a share of the harvested timber. But community power goes way, way beyond formal government programs. It is woven deeply into India's cultural DNA. Look at the Bishnoi villages in Rajasthan, where herds of blackbuck and nilgai are treated as an integral, respected part of the community. Or in Alwar, where 5 villages literally took matters into their own hands, declaring 1,200 hectares of forest as the Baro Devdakas Sponchery. Let's make sure we have that name down firmly, enforcing their own strict rules against hunting. We also have ancient traditions of sacred groves, where tribes like the Mundas and Santals worship mahua trees, and tribes in Odisha and Bihar revere the tamarind. And of course, we can't forget the legendary Chipko movement in the Himalayas that successfully resisted deforestation alongside the Bij Bachao Andolan in Terry, proving that ecological farming is a highly viable path forward. Section 6. Check your understanding. All right, 10th Standard, you have absorbed a massive amount of incredible information today. Now it's time to test your knowledge with a quick active recall session, pulling directly from your textbook exercises. Let's see what you've got. Question 1. Which of the following conservation strategies do not directly involve community participation? Is it A, joint forest management, B, Bij Bachao Andolan, C, Chipko movement, or D, demarcation of wildlife sanctuaries? Take just a second to lock your answer into your brain. Well, if you chose D, you are absolutely correct. Think back to our whiteboard and community sections. JFM explicitly relies on village institutions. Bij Bachao Andolan was driven entirely by farmers and citizen groups. Chipko was a massive local community resistance. Demarcation of wildlife sanctuaries, however, that is a top-down, government-led strategy. See how easily you can solve these when you truly understand the core concepts. Let's try one more, a classic matching question. You need to match reserve forests, protected forests, and unclassed forests to their correct definitions. Close your eyes for a sec and just visualize that 3-tier whiteboard table we built together a few minutes ago. All right, here's how it all matches up. Reserved forests are the most valuable for conservation. Protected forests are protected from further depletion. Unclassed forests are the other wastelands belonging to the government, private individuals, and communities. Excellent work mastering a very dense piece of categorization there. We've covered the breadth of India's biodiversity, the laws that protect it, and the very specific types of forests we manage. But as we sign off from this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative thought, directly inspired by the final lines of your textbook chapter. If local communities are the ones whose livelihoods depend on the forests and who have passionately protected them for centuries through sacred traditions, is true natural resource management even possible without local communities at the center stage of decision-making? Think about that as you continue your studies. Keep up the phenomenal work, stay curious, and I will catch you in the next explainer.